Most people like to believe that human beings are guided by reason, morals, and good intentions. It is a comforting belief. It allows people to sleep at night thinking the world is fair, predictable, and safe. But comfort has never been truth, and centuries ago, one man looked at human behavior without romance, without hope, and without mercy and wrote down what he saw, not what people wished was true. Machiavelli did not study humans the way philosophers did. He did not ask how people should behave. He asked how they actually behave when power, fear, survival, and self-interest are involved. And what he discovered was disturbing enough that people have spent hundreds of years trying to soften his message, sanitize it, or label it evil because accepting it would mean admitting something uncomfortable about ourselves. At the core of Machiavelli's view is a brutal assumption. Most people are not loyal by nature. They are loyal by convenience. They remain faithful as long as it costs them nothing. The moment loyalty becomes expensive, dangerous, or uncomfortable, it collapses. This is not cynicism. It is observation. People will praise you when you benefit them, defend you when it costs them nothing, and abandon you the moment your weakness threatens their security. This is why Machiavelli warned rulers not to build their safety on gratitude. Gratitude fades quickly. Fear does not. Fear has memory. Fear survives even when love disappears. A person who loves you may turn against you when emotions shift. A person who fears consequences thinks twice before acting. This is not about cruelty, it is about leverage. Love is unstable because it lives inside emotion. Fear is stable because it lives inside calculation. Machiavelli understood something most people refuse to accept. Humans do not respond to truth, they respond to incentives. They do not act because something is right. They act because something benefits them, protects them, or elevates them. Morality becomes loud when it aligns with self-interest and silent when it does not. That is why public virtue often collapses in private moments, and why people who preach the loudest are often the first to betray. Another dark reality Machiavelli exposes is how easily humans are manipulated by appearances. People judge with their eyes, not their minds. They see outcomes, not intentions. They remember results, not methods. This is why Machiavelli argued that appearing virtuous is often more important than being virtuous. Not because virtue is useless, but because most people lack the depth to recognize it when it is inconvenient. Human beings are attracted to confidence even when it is false. They follow strength even when it is destructive. They obey authority not because it is wise, but because it appears inevitable. Machiavelli saw that uncertainty terrifies people. When someone appears decisive, calm, and unshaken, others project competence onto them even if it is undeserved. This projection becomes power. One of the most disturbing truths in The Prince is the idea that people forgive cruelty faster than they forgive weakness. Weakness invites challenge. Weakness creates opportunity for betrayal. Cruelty, when controlled and strategic, creates boundaries. Machiavelli was not advocating chaos. He was warning that uncontrolled softness in a hostile environment leads to collapse. He also understood that humans remember pain longer than kindness. A favor is quickly forgotten once it becomes normal. A loss, however, shapes behavior permanently. This is why punishment, if necessary, must be decisive and final, not repeated. Repeated harm breeds resentment. A single decisive act creates caution. The goal is not suffering, the goal is predictability. Perhaps the most uncomfortable lesson Machiavelli offers is this: people want to be deceived. They want simple narratives. They want heroes and villains. They want certainty, not complexity. That is why lies that feel good travel faster than truths that require thought. A leader who tells people what they want to hear will always be loved until reality arrives. A leader who understands reality prepares for that moment instead of chasing applause. Machiavelli did not hate humanity, he understood it, and understanding something does not require liking it. He saw that humans are driven by fear of loss more than hope of gain. They protect what they have more aggressively than they pursue what they want. This is why threats are often more effective than promises, and why people comply faster when they fear losing status, safety, or belonging. Another brutal insight is how quickly people rewrite their beliefs to protect their identity. When evidence threatens self-image, people reject evidence. When truth threatens comfort, people attack the truth. Machiavelli knew that reason rarely changes minds once emotion has claimed ownership. This is why persuasion works best before positions harden, not after. In Machiavelli's world, trust was not assumed, it was managed. Blind trust was a liability. Conditional trust was a tool. He believed that expecting people to behave morally in immoral conditions was naive, and building systems that rely on goodness alone was dangerous. Stability required anticipating betrayal, not hoping it would never happen. This is why The Prince still makes people uncomfortable today, not because it promotes evil, but because it removes illusions. It strips away the fantasy that humans are consistently rational, fair, or loyal. It shows a world where survival, status, and security quietly shape behavior more than ideals ever will. And once you see human nature this way, you cannot unsee it. You begin to notice patterns. Who speaks loudly about values but disappears under pressure? Who remains calm when others panic? Who benefits from chaos while preaching order? Machiavelli was not teaching people how to become monsters. He was teaching them how monsters already operate and how to avoid being destroyed by them. The most dangerous part of Machiavelli's work is not the tactics. It is the clarity, because clarity removes excuses. It forces you to confront whether you are living in reality or hiding inside comfort, whether you are prepared for how people actually behave or still hoping they will behave how you wish they would. And that is why Machiavelli's view of human behavior remains brutal, not because it is cruel, but because it is accurate. Once you accept Machiavelli's view of human behavior, a strange shift begins inside you. You stop being surprised by betrayal. You stop being shocked by hypocrisy. You stop expecting consistency from people whose incentives change with the situation. This is not because you become bitter, but because you become realistic. Machiavelli never argued that humans are evil by default. He argued something far more unsettling. Humans are conditional. Their values bend under pressure. Their loyalties expire when threatened, and their morality negotiates silently with fear. Machiavelli understood that most people do not consciously decide to betray. They drift into it, one small compromise at a time, one justification layered over another. People rarely wake up planning to act dishonorably. They act in ways that protect their image, their safety, or their advantage, and only later invent moral language to excuse it. This is why Machiavelli distrusted words and watched actions instead. Actions reveal incentives. Words reveal intention to be seen a certain way. One of the darkest lessons hidden inside The Prince is how power exposes character rather than corrupting it. Power does not change who people are. It removes constraints. When consequences disappear, behavior becomes honest. This is why people who appear humble when powerless often become ruthless when elevated. The mask was never virtue, it was necessity. Machiavelli observed that people respect strength not because it is moral, but because it feels safe. Certainty calms anxious minds. Decisiveness reassures people who are unsure. Even when decisions are wrong, people prefer someone who acts over someone who hesitates. Hesitation signals vulnerability, and vulnerability invites challenge. This is why leaders who project confidence often retain loyalty even after failure, while leaders who hesitate lose trust even when correct. Another uncomfortable truth Machiavelli revealed is how quickly people turn on fallen figures. Support evaporates the moment protection is gone. Praise becomes silence. Loyalty becomes distance. This is not cruelty, it is self-preservation. People align with strength because it shields them. When that shield cracks, they move instinctively towards safety. Expecting gratitude in these moments is a mistake. Machiavelli warned that relying on past goodwill is one of the fastest ways to lose control. He also understood the strategic use of reputation. Reputation is not about who you are. It is about what people believe you are capable of. Machiavelli did not encourage needless cruelty. He encouraged clarity. When boundaries are clear, conflict is reduced. When boundaries are vague, conflict multiplies. Perhaps the most misunderstood aspect of Machiavelli's thinking is his stance on morality. He did not reject morality. He rejected naive morality. He believed that moral behavior without power is fragile because it depends on cooperation from others who may not share the same values. In hostile environments, idealism without protection becomes self-sacrifice. Machiavelli's realism was not about abandoning ethics, but about surviving long enough to practice them. He saw that people are more influenced by loss than gain. Take something away and behavior changes instantly. Offer something new and hesitation remains. This asymmetry shapes everything: loyalty, obedience, resistance, and rebellion. People will fight harder to keep what they have than to achieve what they want. Leaders who understand this shape systems around preservation, not promises. Machiavelli also warned about mercy without limits. Mercy, when predictable, becomes entitlement. Entitlement breeds contempt. Contempt invites defiance. This is why he argued that mercy must be paired with consequence. Without consequence, kindness loses authority. Without authority, kindness becomes weakness in the eyes of those looking for advantage. As you absorb these ideas, you begin to notice how often modern life confirms them. Corporate loyalty dissolves during layoffs. Moral outrage appears selectively, aimed where it is safest. Principles are defended loudly loudly until they become costly. Then silence follows. Machiavelli would not be shocked by any of this. He would recognize it immediately. What makes Machiavelli dangerous is not that he teaches manipulation. It is that he removes denial. He forces you to confront how much of human behavior is driven by fear of loss, desire for security, and hunger for status. Once you see this, emotional manipulation becomes obvious, moral posturing becomes transparent, and naive trust becomes a liability you no longer afford yourself. But here is the quiet truth most people miss. Machiavelli's ideas are defensive as much as they are strategic. They are not only about how to rule others, but about how not to be ruled by illusion. Understanding human behavior at this level does not make you cruel. It makes you prepared to set boundaries without guilt, prepared to observe actions over words, prepared to remain calm when others panic, prepared to understand that most conflicts are not about truth, but about power, fear, and identity. And that is why The Prince endures, not because it teaches domination, but because it teaches awareness. Awareness of how people behave when no one is watching. Awareness of what loyalty actually costs. Awareness of how quickly virtue dissolves when incentives shift. Machiavelli's brutal view of human behavior is not a call to become ruthless. It is a warning not to be naive in a world that quietly rewards those who understand reality better than those who deny it. And once you understand that, you no longer see people the same way again. Once this understanding settles in, another realization follows, quieter but heavier. You begin to see how deeply people resist responsibility. Not just responsibility for actions, but responsibility for thinking. Machiavelli understood that most people do not want freedom in the way they claim. They want relief. Relief from uncertainty. Relief from decision-making, relief from blame if things go wrong. This is why authority is so easily accepted. Authority absorbs responsibility, and humans instinctively move toward anything that reduces psychological weight. This is also why people submit to systems they privately resent. Submission is not always forced. Often, it is chosen. Being told what to do removes the burden of choice. When failure happens, responsibility can be outsourced. Machiavelli recognized that people tolerate control not because they love it, but because it protects them from the consequences of autonomy. True independence is rare because it demands accountability without witnesses. Another brutal insight emerges here. People do not seek truth. They seek reassurance. Truth destabilizes identity. Reassurance stabilizes it. This is why uncomfortable truths are attacked, mocked, or ignored, while comforting lies are defended with passion. Machiavelli saw that persuasion is not about logic, but timing and emotion. Present the truth when people are afraid, and they will reject it. Present reassurance when people are anxious, and they will follow blindly. This explains why crowds are so dangerous. Machiavelli understood that the crowd is not a collection of individuals. It is a psychological state where judgment dissolves. He also understood something deeply unsettling. People admire strength even when it harms them. They resent weakness even when it protects them. Strength signals survival. Weakness signals risk. In uncertain environments, people align with whatever appears dominant, not with what is fair. This is why abusive figures often retain loyalty long after they deserve it, while cautious leaders are abandoned despite good intentions. Machiavelli warned that being liked is not the same as being secure. Popularity creates exposure. Exposure invites challenge. Those who rely on approval must constantly perform, constantly reassure, constantly explain. This dependence is a weakness. Authority that does not require constant validation is far more stable. Silence, restraint, and unpredictability create psychological distance, and distance creates control. He also exposed how easily people confuse morality with appearance. Public virtue is often performative, shaped by reward and punishment. Private behavior reveals priorities more honestly. This is why Machiavelli advised observing how people behave when incentives change, who remains consistent when no one is watching, who disappears when the cost rises, who speaks loudly until silence becomes safer. Perhaps the most disturbing aspect of Machiavelli's thinking is how little he trusted intention. Intention is invisible. Intention is cheap. Intention is easy to fake. Outcomes, however, cannot be argued with. Machiavelli judged leaders by results, not motives. Not because motives do not matter, but because people suffer from outcomes, not from intentions. This mindset strips away comforting narratives. It forces you to accept that good intentions can still cause destruction, and bad intentions can sometimes create order. The world is not divided into heroes and villains. It is divided into those who understand consequences and those who are blind to them. Once you adopt this lens, you begin to move differently. You listen more than you speak. You reveal less than you know. You stop explaining yourself to people who benefit from misunderstanding you. You recognize that clarity is power, but only when applied selectively. Machiavelli believed that transparency without protection is self-sabotage. You also begin to understand why restraint is more threatening than aggression. Aggression is predictable. It reveals limits. Restraint creates uncertainty. People fear what they cannot read. A person who does not react impulsively cannot be easily manipulated. A person who does not seek validation cannot be easily controlled. This is why Machiavellian figures often appear calm during chaos. Chaos reveals who is governed by emotion and who governs it. Most people collapse inward under pressure. Their values shift. Their alliances change. Their behavior exposes what was always there, hidden beneath comfort. Machiavelli was not interested in optimism. He was interested in survival. Survival of states, survival of systems, survival of individuals who understand the game being played beneath polite language and moral theater. His work is not about becoming feared. It is about not being destroyed by illusions. And the final realization is this: Machiavelli's ideas are uncomfortable because they demand maturity. They demand that you see people as they are, not as they present themselves. They demand that you accept responsibility for your own perception, instead of outsourcing judgment to hope. Once you reach this point, there is no dramatic transformation, no declaration, no outward change. There is simply distance. Distance from naivete, distance from manipulation, distance from the emotional storms that move crowds in predictable directions. You are no longer shocked by human behavior. You are no longer confused by betrayal. You are no longer seduced by appearances. And that quiet clarity, that ability to see without reacting, is the most Machiavellian advantage of all.